And I'm going to stand actually because I've found that if I can walk back and forth, I can ultimately hypnotize you into accepting my message. My name is Thomas Seneca, managing partner of TM Wealth Management. We've got offices in Reston and in Salt Lake City. And we work with clients that are frustrated by the complexity of their wealth. We try to help them achieve their financial goals with three objectives. First is we want to simplify their financial lives. So we function as kind of the quarterback of their financial team. So we interface with accountants, with bankers, with insurance specialists, with attorneys to make sure that there's a comprehensive strategy for their wealth. So we try and simplify it. Second, we look to unify their wealth through our technology platform, which is bringing everything that they have, all the different things they've got stuffed under couches and under the bed and in their desk drawer, to make sure they've got a comprehensive view on their personal financial webpage of everything they have, how it works, and if it's going to help them achieve their goals. We look to unify. And last, we look to multiply their wealth, utilizing what we refer to as the endowment model. And there's a lot in there, and this isn't a commercial. I'd encourage you to go to our website. I'm happy to talk to anybody afterwards. But there's a lot of confusion in the financial advice industry versus financial advisors, insurance specialists, wealth managers, and those types of things. And there's some distinct differences that if you're in the market, you should take some time and educate yourself. My entire life has either been involved in the study, the implementation, the execution, or the instruction of financial principles. I actually teach as well as one of the local MBA programs. So that's why I see a whiteboard and a Sharpie, and I can't help myself. So we'll ultimately use it. And I started on Wall Street. I worked for Goldman Sachs and Deutsche Bank doing IPOs and M&A transactions and debt offerings. And when I started to try and help my friends and family to manage their financial resources, I became frustrated that the same resources that were available to the companies that I was advising on Wall Street weren't available to the folks on Main Street. So I began my practice in an effort to bring Wall Street type of resources, analysis, and products to folks on Main Street. So how many in here are business owners with employees? How many are managers of employees? Okay. And how many are employees? I think I've covered just about everybody, so what I'm going to say should apply to everyone. What do you think is the number one cause of stress among employees? And to John's point, I like this to be interactive. I lecture, but this is, what do you think is the number one cause of stress among employees?
Money, family, and sex.
I'm not going to touch the last one. The second one
Congress
is important, but the American Psychological Association does a study every year to figure out what the source of stress of employees is. And the number one cause of every year that comes up is money or personal finances. They're stressed out about their personal finances. What impact do you think that financial stress of your employees or as an employee has on the bottom line of a company or on the productivity of that employee? What do you think the impacts are? Or are there any? Why? Why?
Because when your employees come to work and they're worried about other things, they're worried about other things, and it spills over into what they're doing.
Right. Let me read you a couple of statistics here. The Society for Human Resources Management reported that in the last 12 months there's been a 40% increase in requests for 401k plan loans, taking money out of your 401k to use it for something other than retirement. Let's see, the National Institute of Personal Finance said up to 50% of employees admit to wasting 21 hours per month while on the job dealing with personal money matters. 21 hours a month, that's 3 days. Now they're just completely gone from your company focusing on their personal finance issues. Let's see, the WebMD says that financial stress is a leading cause to illnesses such as migraines, back pain, anxiety, depression, insomnia, ulcers, weight gain, and heart attacks. So financial stress doesn't just have an impact on your mental well-being, it has an impact on your physical well-being, and in addition on your relationship well-being. AXA did a study they called Money Sickness Syndrome, where they reported that 57% of top managers are financially stressed. 64% of middle managers and 58% of skilled manual workers are financially stressed. This is not an income issue. It's not just on the lower end of the salary scale. It's all the way up on the high end. And I meet with clients that have net worth of $10+ million, and they are financially stressed as well. Now, they're not concerned about meeting their mortgage payment, but they have other things that stress them out about their finances. And lastly, I'll share with you the National Institute of Personal Finance said in the last 12 months, 71% of employees received overdue notices from their creditor, and 65% read phone calls from their creditor at work. So if you think that your company and your employees aren't being impacted by financial stress, think again. So what's the solution?
Pay raise.
Pay raise. That is music to a business owner's ears, right? Pay them more money and all the problems go away.
Lottery win.
Lottery tickets for the entire employees. Planning. Okay, so it's not more money. And there's a couple of things that offer some solutions, and I'll highlight two for you today. The first is from employers and from a retirement plan perspective, make your retirement plan a competitive advantage for your company. Secondly, provide some unbiased, independent financial education. Okay, so let's take the first one. Make your retirement plan a competitive advantage. Too often in companies, their retirement plan is what I call a me too benefit. Oh, that company's going to offer it? Well, me too. Oh, they're going to offer that? Well, me too. I'm going to offer that. So a lot of times a retirement plan is something you feel you have to offer because your competitive companies are offering it to their employees. And so it then becomes not necessarily a benefit, it becomes a cost to the company that they feel they have to offer because other companies are offering. So they pull something off the shelf, they plug it in and say, oh, we have a retirement plan for you as well. That is not the way to have a competitive advantage with your retirement plan.
Can I ask you a question about definition of retirement
Sure.
plan? You talk about 401ks, or are you talking about the old-time retirement, like pension plan?
Well, I'm referring to the new structure. So back in 1978, they changed from this pension plan where if you worked long enough, the company would pay you a pension or a retirement. And if they didn't manage it well, then they'd have to make it up. So that reduced your stress, right? You didn't have to become the portfolio manager and say, okay, now I've got this retirement account, what am I going to invest it in? And the pension before 1978 was the default retirement plan. Now with 401ks and the other structures that are available to you from a tax planning or IRS perspective, now you have to become the employees have to become the portfolio manager, and you have to be concerned about the taxes and fiduciary risks as well.
And I was going to say the risk.
Yeah.
Because there's great risk.
There is. I'll
When
get
you're
to that.
investing yeah.
So what I'm referring to is as a company about the 401k or other types of products that are available to you versus the traditional pension plans. And so to make your retirement plan a competitive advantage, there's three things that I'd recommend you focus on. First is make sure you have an outcomes-based approach with your retirement plan. Don't pull something off the shelf. Don't say, oh, well, it's a me too, we have to offer it. Sit down and determine what the outcome you want to have from your retirement plan. What is it you want your employees to experience? What is the benefit you actually want to provide to your employees by offering a retirement plan? Too often I sit down with clients and we pull out all their documents and we go through and try and structure a plan. And when we get to the company plan, I say, okay, what's this and where's it invested? And 9 times out of 10, the response is, all I know is they take money out of my paycheck, and I hope that there's more money there than when I put in when I retire. Let me tell you, hope is not a retirement strategy. So you've got to make sure you understand the outcome that you want to have with your retirement plan for your employees. Now, if you're an employee, ask your HR directors, okay, what are you trying to accomplish? Or go to them, and a lot of times we see the change come from the bottom up rather than the top down. The thing you've got to understand is most executives that are making hundreds of $1,000s a year or multi-million-dollar paychecks, the 401k plan where they can put $17,000 away every year is not a big part of their overall financial strategy. So they look at it, again, as a challenge and a cost versus a true benefit. So a lot of times the employees can provide some incentives there to make some changes. So make sure you have an outcomes-based approach. Second is use a retirement specialist. Don't use, like David said, if your banker also does auto loans, say, well, we can do commercial loans too. Make sure you use a retirement specialist. Don't use the insurance or your neighbor that's also an accountant. Make sure you use a retirement specialist because there's unique things that you need to pay attention to. And the last, when trying to make your retirement plan a competitive advantage, as an owner or as a sponsor of the plan, you have what we refer to as fiduciary risk, which is a legal term that says you have a legal responsibility to do what's in the best interest of the plan participants, of the employees. If you do not, and you are a fiduciary, you can have your personal assets at risk. You do something wrong within the plan, they can come take your home, your investment accounts, your personal assets. Now there's strategies and structures and sponsors or plan providers that you can use to mitigate that risk, but you've got to pay attention to just pulling something off the shelf and plugging it in and thinking that you fulfilled your fiduciary responsibility to the plan participants. Okay, so that was one. Make sure your retirement plan is a competitive advantage. And there may be some that have a question about, well, which plan is best for me? And there's a couple of these. You can get these online. This is from the IRS. It goes through and tells you exactly the specific plans and how they apply and everything else. We just don't have time to go into that today. But the other element is financial education. And somebody say that to reduce financial stress is to have a plan. Right? How stressed out would you be if you were driving from Washington, D.C. to LA and you had no map? Okay? One, you wouldn't be sure when you'd get there. Wouldn't be sure if you get there. And you wouldn't know which route to take. So you'd be frustrated that you wouldn't know where to go and it's going to take you longer than it probably should. So I encourage you or your employer or as a business owner to get some unbiased, independent financial literacy for yourself or for your employees. Let me tell you how to become a rock star within your company. I've got some brochures back here. But walk up to them and say, I know how to increase productivity of our employees, make them happier, and make us more profitable. Your manager or business owner say, you're a rock star. And then when you tell them it's only going to cost us $20 per employee, they'll think you walk on water. One of the things that we do, because we're so passionate about financial literacy and about financial stress, is we will come in with your group and provide a 1 to 2 hour course that goes through and shares some of the same principles and strategies and products that we share and utilize with our high net worth clients. And work with them to develop a roadmap that now they can figure, okay, here's what I have. And a lot of times it's an ugly picture, right? When you say, okay, here's where you are right now. And then they say, well, here's where I want to be. And 9 times out of 10, we can structure something that says, okay, here's where you are today, and here's where you want to be in the future. Here are the things that you need to do between now and the future to be able to accomplish your goals. When you have that plan, the level of stress goes completely down. It's not, okay, you have more money. It's now, they don't have to think about it or worry about it anymore. All they have to do is execute on the plan. Think about the first time you walked into a fitness area with all the equipment and the interesting apparel and how stressed out you were. And then somebody came up and the personal trainer said, okay, here's your workout plan and here's how all this equipment works. Now you just show up every other month in my case and begin to execute on the plan, right? So again, there's a lot to structuring a retirement plan about which plan to use and the tax and the fiduciary responsibilities that you have. And then you get into the individual investment options and every employee now having to be a portfolio manager. If your plan provider is not providing one-on-one individualized advice to your employees, then what you've done is you've created a set it and forget it type of structure. They walk in, they'll initially structure, they'll show up once a quarter or maybe once a year. They'll do a group meeting that says, okay, here's how your plan works and here's what you should do and here's the basic principles. But we all understand that we have a unique individualized financial situation that requires some individual attention. So, yeah, John.
Do you have any rules of thumb regarding switching costs? What I mean by that is, let's take a case study. Let's say I have a friend of mine, I grew up with him, went to college with him, he's in your business, he's managed my money for 17 years. Last 3 years, maybe he's performing at 7%. And you come in, I meet you through Larry, and you can show me data that says...
Without question, pick me.
Pick you.
Here's the real answer, right? Because you've got to get in, you've got to understand the particulars of the plan. You cannot be solely cost-based. You've got to be focused on value, right? The guy can be the cheapest. I used to do, construction, and we would come into clients, we'd build custom homes, and we'd sit down at the very beginning. We're not the cheapest. but we don't think you want the cheapest anyway, because there's a lot of things that go behind drywall that makes them the cheapest, right? So the point is to focus on value, not specifically the cost.
But
What are
some
you
of-
actually
but
getting?
Some of the value for me is the 17-year relationship with him.
The
And
same
am I-
question
am
you
I
asked,
willing to breach
David.
that? Yeah, am I willing to breach that for an extra point and a half
Oh.
year over year? Because he and his wife may not, there's a lot more to the interest.
But you
That-
know
that-
what, can I real quick, because I'm in that situation and I just got burned. Because a good friend, college roommate of my husband's, was responsible for my retirement account. And he was heavy into commodities and basically let 60% of the portfolio go away. And he's a friend.
Fred,
And so
that's
now I
a
have
hard
to,
decision.
yeah, and I had to stand up to him
So
and
if you
say,
have any
wait a
advice
second.
on how?
My advice is I actually don't take client, I do take long-standing relationship money. It just, when you add that type of relationship into an already dynamic and challenging environment, now you think, well, they're a friend, I'll get to their account next time I see them at the barbecue,
Yep.
right? You want somebody that's going to take a professional approach, and you want to be able to fire them like that.
I was just gonna say, you wanna be able to hold them accountable, and as a friend, I had to just do this, and it's a lot harder than if I call you and say, what's going on?
The other thing to pay attention to is you want to make sure that when you're structuring, whether it's your own personal finances or a corporate plan, that you're not locking yourself into some sort of proprietary solution, right?
Yeah.
That you want to make sure you're using custodians that you can move very easily from one advisor or one plan to another one. Versus, oh, well, you've got to wait a week because we've got to sell it and then we've got to justify this. You don't want that. You want somebody that's going to come in and provide you a very plug-and-play type of solution. But again, focus on value. Costs are important. You need to pay attention to costs. But if you're getting the cheapest, but you see the guy once a year, are you really getting the value out of your retirement plan that you want to be receiving? So I'll cut it there, and because we're short on time, turn it over to Larry, but we'll take some Q&A eventually.
Yes.